Today is the 14th of March 2022. The Watchman again. Well, I hate to say that I told you so, but I did tell you so. Everything is being revealed now. The Prime Minister gave an interview in which he revealed certain things about Gary Griffith. And Gary Griffith, in turn, did an interview in which he revealed certain things about the Prime Minister. So this will not be a one-time analysis. I'll have to do it in parts. So let me get to one of the major things to me that Gary Griffith was saying about the Prime Minister. He said that the Prime Minister whispered in his ear about granting a firearm dealer's license to a gentleman in Tobago who was a friend of the Prime Minister. So the question is, did the Prime Minister break the law? And the answer is no. The Prime Minister can talk to the Commissioner, who is the authority for granting firearm users license and dealers license and certificates and the rest, and permits. So the question will be, if the Prime Minister did not break the law by speaking to Gary Griffith or asking him a question or making a recommendation or anything of that sort, Gary Griffith said that he issued the firearm dealer's license. So the question now is, was the person qualified to receive a firearm dealer's license? And if the person was not qualified under the law, then Gary Griffith broke the law. The Prime Minister didn't break the law. Gary Griffith, as the functionary responsible for granting firearms, did grant the dealer's license in this case. So, why bring it up to say that the Prime Minister said, ask you that question? To do what? Embarrass the Prime Minister? But if the person was not qualified, Gary Griffith broke the law. But let us assume that the person was qualified, and Gary Griffith issued the firearm dealer's license to that person. Then what is the purpose of saying that the Prime Minister raised it with you before granting the license? What is the purpose? Did he offer you a bribe? Did he offer you some other incentive for granting the firearm dealer's license? Did he do anything that was contrary to the law? But by you, and by you I mean Gary Griffith, identifying that you granted the dealer's license to someone in Tobago who was the only person that you granted it to, raises a number of questions. Are you telling me that was the only person in Tobago who applied? Are you saying that you did not grant it to other persons either because they didn't qualify or because you didn't want to? And that you only responded to the Prime Minister's request because he was Prime Minister? So, did you grant it to him on a proper basis? But now you have said that, you have identified the poor gentleman in Tobago who didn't do anything except apply and know the Prime Minister. Now you have put him at risk for a number of things, because I'm sure he did not want people to know, the whole country to know, that he was granted a firearm dealer's license as the only person in Tobago. Why do that? In a stupid, misguided attempt to embarrass the Prime Minister, you are placing people at risk. And you are also talking yourself into further problems, because I expect a full investigation to be done now. And if that person did not qualify to get a firearm dealer's license and was granted that firearm dealer's license, then Gary Griffith broke the law. It's as simple as that. So let us start there with this particular thing, and then I will move on to the other things that came out of the two interviews. This is the Watchman and part 2 of my analysis of the ongoing saga between Gary Griffith and the Prime Minister Keith Rowley. Gary Griffith, in his most recent interview, made a very alarming accusation against the Prime Minister. He said, in effect, that the Prime Minister was jealous or became jealous of Gary Griffith's public popularity through some unscientific poll that was conducted that showed that he was more popular than the Prime Minister. And the people whispered in the Prime Minister's ears, and the Prime Minister changed his mind, and that he was not really disappointed with Gary Griffith in the beginning. So much so that the Prime Minister instructed or told or informed or met with the Attorney General and made the Attorney General draft the law to change the law in order to make Gary Griffith act as commissioner. And I recall in the past, I raised this issue and asked for the Attorney General to say something as to why a law was drafted to benefit one man as opposed to all other citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And Gary Griffith hinted at it then, but now he is making it clear that it was the Prime Minister who did that. So he is basically accusing the Prime Minister of attempting, or not attempting, but actually circumventing the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago in order to make Gary Griffith acting commissioner and to pave the way for his continued service in the post. And is only now, after he became afraid of Gary Griffith's power, that he is attempting to bring him down. Now, I would like to think that if this is in effect true, there are questions I would ask. How did Gary Griffith know that the Prime Minister said that? Was he present? Was he told this by the Attorney General or any other person who was present when this alleged conversation took place? Because for me, if it is true, it raises some very troubling questions about the Prime Minister's own analysis of events and issues, and whether he was in fact in bed with Gary Griffith. Not literally, of course, I mean figuratively. And that Gary Griffith only became persona non grata because of the Prime Minister's jealousy. If it is not true, would the Prime Minister or the Attorney General take any action against Gary Griffith? Is not such an accusation defamatory on the face of it? I am asking because I would like to hear the response of the Prime Minister and the Attorney General with respect to this matter. Because it again places the Attorney General in bad light, in a not so favorable light. So, is this a case of just pure jealousy on the part of the Prime Minister? Somebody has to explain that legal notice, which from the very beginning I felt and said was bad law. And now we are getting some things basically from one of the horse's mouth. So, I would like the other horses in this race to have a say. because this is very, very damaging to the Prime Minister, in my opinion, and to the Attorney General more so. Because, Gary seems to have a closeness with certain people in the ruling party. And it was interesting during his interview when he said he would speak to Stuart Young when he was at Minister of National Security at least 10 times a day. But he wasn't so inclined to speak to Fitzgerald Hines when he became Minister of National Security. Was Minister Hines a lesser minister in Gary Griffith's eyes? What was the difference between the both persons? They both have law degrees and they are both senior members of the party. The only difference I'm seeing here is that one is a dark-skinned Rasta man from Lavent Hill and the other one is of a different hue. So what was the difference? This one I would like Gary to say. What was the difference and what was he told, if anything, by Stuart Young and by the Attorney General, Paris Alwari? And the beat goes on.